Okay, my name is Paul Corder. I'm with Perfect Golf Event. Today we're going to talk about selling golf event sponsorships in 2021. Obviously, it's going to be a challenging time as we go through the healthcare crisis, and a lot of events were challenged in 2020, and hopefully they can recover into 2021. So we're going to focus. We provide websites for charity golf events and help them have a more successful event. And we have a lot of experience. We work with thousands of events, and we feel it's helpful to kind of help our events organizers be more successful. We're giving them information on things like selling sponsorships. I'm doing another webinar in an hour on golf event formats. But today we're going to focus on the sponsorship part of it. For a housekeeping note, and I'll repeat this a couple times because there's always some late arrivals, but don't worry about copying everything down. I'll be glad to send you a copy of the presentation afterwards, so you'll have everything that I was talking about in print, so you can review it or share it with your committees if you'd like to. So we're going to work on sponsorships today, and we're going to cover a number of topics. People that leave reviews for my webinars, they always say we go quick, but I know you all have busy schedules, so we move along a little quickly, which is why I like to give you the print copy. So we're going to talk about sponsorship objectives, the type of categories you should have, how to set the right sponsorship packages up. This is very important, how to build a list of potential sponsors, and then how to market your event and sell those sponsorships. So I hope that that's what you signed up for. And so thank you again. Remember, first of all, your objectives when you're trying to do a golf event, that sponsorships, you want to raise more money. In exchange, you give sponsors recognition during and after your event. It's very important. If you've done a golf event before, you know this. If you're new, you need to understand that most of the revenue from a golf event comes from sponsorships. You can cover a lot of your costs with the players, but the real revenue will come by selling a lot of sponsorships. Sponsors will also help you cover the cost of the event day contests and activities, and that in turn will create an exciting environment for your golfers. One of the really important things, I try and stress this, and I've been doing this 16 years, is it's really important to make sure you're out there selling sponsorships now. Whether it's December or early January, you want to make sure that you're there when the sponsors are planning their budgets. So you want to get out there now, because the saddest thing you're going to hear when you're promoting a charity golf event is, I wish we had known about your event earlier so we could have included it in our budget. So you want to make sure they know about it. Players tend to sign up a little later for a golf event, but sponsors will commit earlier, and that's your goal, is to kind of get them to do that. Make sure that you've got your website set up. Hopefully you're using Perfect Golf Event, and that you've got a save the date that's been sent out to all your email, and an email to all your potential sponsors. And if you need a sample of a save the date that's been pretty effective, I can send you samples. I have plenty of them. Now, when you're breaking your sponsorships up, this is one area that's very important. A lot of people will sit down with their committee and say, we've got to sell a lot of sponsorships, and it's a little too generic for me. So you need to break your categories of sponsorships and your sponsorships in some categories. And now I'm going to go through these categories specifically, but basically the important part is you're trying to set up a sponsorships and then match the potential sponsors to the right type of sponsorship that fits their profile. So for example, if you've got a bank, they could be a title sponsor. If you've got a small restaurant, they're not going to be your title sponsor, but they may be a hole or a pin flag sponsor or do a donation. So let's talk about it. First thing is primary. And if you've ever done a golf event, these are kind of the ones that all the events have had. I work with an event for Cornell University, and they've done their event for 64 years. And I can guarantee it, 64 years ago, they had a title sponsor, and they may have called it something else, but they had a presenting or a gold or a breakfast or lunch or awards reception. So these are the primary sponsorships that you'd have in a golf event that have been around for a long time. Then you have what I call the contest and event sponsors. And these are people who are going to sponsor the different contests that you're going to have. The sponsors you're going to have for your event. Most events, in fact, don't have enough of these type of sponsors, so they can offer a lot of things to the golfers that makes the day exciting and gives the sponsors recognition. And I'll go through a little more of this a little bit, but you have to look at your sponsorship package and say, am I offering enough of these type of sponsorships? And things like hole-in-one sponsors, they add a lot to your event, because here's an event down in Jacksonville. You can see they had hole-in-one contest for cash, Pebble Beach, a bourbon trail tour, freshwater fishing trip. We did all the insurance for these, but it made their event fun, and also was great sponsorship opportunities. Here's one, for example. That's me on the left. I just presented a check for $85,000 to a gentleman who made a hole-in-one, and he won a boat, an $85,000 boat with a hole-in-one. So you can imagine when the people have hole-in-one contests in their event, all the people who played in this event remember the guy won a boat, and they're going to come back next year because, hey, maybe I have a chance to win the boat as well. And these are some examples of sponsored contests. So, putting contest, shootout, hole in one, closest to the pin. You can have all sorts of different contests and sponsors. Hole and pin flags. Now, most events have hole signs. They've been around for a really long time. So you can have hole signs, which are fine. If you're not having pin flags in your event, you're missing an opportunity. They're a great sponsorship opportunity. Flags cost less than $30. You can do 18 different logos on the flag, so you can have a lot of sponsorships. I've done some events where we've sold 32 pin flags because people like them so much. They wanted to be able to hang them in their office. If you have a celebrity in an event, you can get them to sign the pin flags. But pin flags are a really nice addition. Next category is what I call barter sponsors. And barter sponsors are people that you can trade a sponsorship to offset some of the costs of your event. So you might, for example, say, hey, to a printer, hey, will you print my program? In exchange, I'm going to give you recognition and sponsorship in the event. You could trade a sponsorship for food and beverage, for player gifts. All those things can apply. And the advantage of that is that you're saving money because you're trading something you normally would spend money for them providing that, and all you're doing is giving them a sign. It costs $18 for a color sign, so it's a very good thing in terms of economics. And the sponsors could cover the cost. These are some examples of player gifts we did last year. Excuse me. And you can see sponsors get their logo on the item. Players get a nice player gift, and you have saved costs in terms of your event. And this is a new one that just came out. It's very popular, where you can give them a glove set, and then you can put multiple sponsor logos. So you can have like 5 different sponsors sharing the cost of this particular item. So be creative on your sponsor gifts. Another category is called donations, and these are things that you can turn into cash. So somebody may not be able to be a major sponsor for your event, but maybe they'll donate something for your auction, your raffle, your player prizes, your player arrival gifts. These are things, again, that you can save money. People donate them to your organization, help you raise money, and then it's a great way to save money and also give players a very good experience. And if you're thinking about doing an auction, we launch our online auction technology in January. Will allow you to upload all your own items and do online bidding and all of that. And it's a nice addition to any golf event. And again, for some of those who are just signing on late, I see we have late arrivals, I'll be glad to send you this entire presentation so you don't have to copy everything down, because we tend to go a little quickly. You can have unique sponsorships, practice range, the beverages, golf carts. I love cart clings. This is a great, again, hopefully you're getting some ideas on types of sponsorships, but cart clings are wonderful. They would go in the front of the cart. They're static clings, so they just peel on and off. They don't damage the cart. But if you sell this sponsorship, the sponsor comes back every year, because once they pull up and 72 carts have their logo on it, they say that's a great sponsorship. And you can actually put 2 or 3 logos on them, but cart clings are a great sponsorship as well. T markers are a good one. For my events, I manage a number of events myself. I always have a scorecard sponsor. I do a custom scorecard, gets the sponsor logo on it. Again, it's another way to raise money and give sponsors recognition. And there are other things you can do. You can have table runners and these banners that go, these sales signs are called. You can actually do a custom tent where you sell your raffle tickets and sell all those as sponsorships. So the point I want to make here is that you can create a sponsorship for any activity. Anything that you can put a logo on can be a sponsorship. And I'd say one of the mistakes that most organizations make when I look at their sponsorship packages is they don't have enough sponsorships. So you might have, and again, I'll give you the print copy of this, but these are all the types of sponsorships you can offer. And you're not going to sell all of them, but the worst thing that you can do is have not enough sponsors. So people say, and I look at some websites that people use, and they may have 5 or 6 sponsorships. And it's like, wait a second, you're missing so many opportunities for people to jump in that maybe they can't afford to be a $2,000, lunch sponsor, but they'll be a $750 hole-in-one sponsor, or they'll sponsor the photo frame or whatever. So just look with your committee when you're working and think about what sponsorships you can add to your event. Now, let's talk about creating sponsorship packages that are going to sell. And this is very important. Again, I look at a lot of websites that people have out there, and they miss some of the action in terms of sizzle to the sponsorships. So when you're selling sponsorships, and we'll get into the sales process in a bit, is you want to make sure you're delivering value for your sponsor, meaning what are they going to get before the event? Okay, logo on the Perfect Golf website, branding and email, mentioned in the press release, featured in social media. What are they going to get during the event? Signage, insert in the player goodie bags, literature on the display table, listing an event program. And then post-event, are they going to get mentioned in your thank you letters? For some of the larger sponsors, I may let them send one email out to all the participants just so they don't get spammed a lot. But you have to now evaluate this against what you're doing for your event. And here's an example and I'm glad if you want to copy this, you can just ask me for the sample sponsorship packages. And you can adjust this to fit your territory and demographics. But this is the first 2 pages of an event that I do where we do all these different sponsorships for the event. And you can see we've got a lot of benefits for the sponsors listed. And you want to add sizzle, you could do things like here, let's just take this title sponsor, co-branding with the event title, giving them 2 teams, logo on the website, reserved parking, VIP seating, tee off on the first hole, a custom sign with their sponsor name and their event logos. And the nice part about this is these are things, a lot of these things that you can add to the sponsorship packages that don't cost you any money. Meaning to set aside some parking spots for your title sponsor gives them a huge benefit. Their clients go, wow, this is going to be great. We've got reserved parking and it didn't cost you anything. Same with VIP seating. So take a look at what your packages are like, and you maybe want to modify them, to fit those particular budgets. One tip, especially if you're doing a new event, and again, we have a mix of new and existing organizers on the call, so some things may be basic for you, some of you, so stay with me, but just make sure that you're putting player spots into your larger sponsorship. So, for my events, I'll put about 25% of the player spots would be included with my sponsorships. So if I've got 144 players, I'll have 36 sponsor spots. And then I'll say, okay, the title sponsor gets 8 spots, the presentings get 4 spots, et cetera, et cetera. So you bundle those in, and then the rest of them you sell to individual foursomes and players. And remember, if you use a Perfect Golf event, it's a really great opportunity because you can feature the sponsor logos on the homepage. So anytime somebody visits your website, the sponsors are getting recognition. They can click on it and take it right to the sponsor's website. It's an excellent selling tool. A couple other things as we get in the next section is I allow some of my sponsors, if they want to post some offers on the website. So they may say, look, I'm sponsoring this golf event, but if you come into my place and you mention, the event that I'm sponsoring, you'll get a free appetizer. This was a BMW dealer that gave everybody $1,000 off their best deal if they mentioned the event. It helps drive repeat traffic to your website. People come back looking for offers, and that gives more traffic for the sponsors to view. Now, again, getting back into the basis, and again, those I see we've had a couple more sign up. I'll be glad to send you this presentation. Calculating costs for your sponsorships. This is a question that comes up a lot. And so how do I calculate what I'm going to charge my sponsorships to make my bottom line? Well, you're going to take a look at what your revenue sources potentially from your event, sponsorships, your barter, your donations, your auction, player a program or coupon book. I do a program for all my events that has ads in it. From players, you're going to get fees, super tickets, mulligans, raffle, event day contest, the auction. And then you have guests. You have people who show up. They may pay separately for the dinner, pay off a raffle. They may participate in the auction. So you go and look at all your revenue sources. And I'm going to show you a spreadsheet that you can get from me that shows you how to enter all these into a spreadsheet, and it'll calculate everything for you. But then what's your golf course going to cost? Green fees, cart fees, food and beverage, gratuities, service fees, course beverages. You've got to calculate all that, course food. And then you're going to have additional expenses like marketing, contests, player gifts, awards, signs and banners, volunteer shirts. So put all those things together. So what you're going to do is you're going to take all your expected expenses and you're going to take a look at that and say, okay, I expect my expenses to be $15,000. My number of players is 120. Be conservative. Don't assume you're going to fill your event up, especially during the COVID crisis. So basically, to cover my costs, I've got to charge $125 per player. So at that point, you say, okay, I'm going to charge $200 to play in the event, and I'm going to make profit from the players of $9,000. Now, you can charge more. I do an event in St. Louis where I charge $10,000 a team, but it's a really high-end event. But that way you know what your player profit is. And then your sponsors are going to cover the rest of your goal for revenue. And again, people ask me, what should I be charging for sponsorships? Well, it really depends on your market, what your demographics are. So you know your market better than I do. But if you look at it and you had a title sponsor for a smaller event, it could be little as $1,000. Normal events, $5. And then premium events would charge $10 to $20. I do, again, another event here in St. Louis where my title sponsor is $100,000, and I've sold it for 3 years. But that's kind of a unique situation. So you want to take a look at all the different sponsorships and then figure out what do you think you can sell in your particular marketplace, and you'll be able to put them into that spreadsheet that I'll be glad to give you. And here it is. So the spreadsheet allows you to go in, put in all your revenue projections. You want to plug in your previous years. So if you had an event in the past, you'll know how you're doing compared to what your goals are compared to what you've done in the past. I know 2020 was a little tough year. Then you can put in all your expenses, and it's going to then calculate, let's go back. It's going to then calculate your net revenue at the bottom. So down here, you'll have your net revenue, and then you can adjust it. If you're trying to make $50,000 or $25,000, you'll have to look up here and say, hey, we're either going to have to sell more sponsorships, cut our costs, whatever it's going to be. At least you'll be able to keep track of that. And all you have to do is email support at Perfect Golf Event, and we'll give you this template with the formulas already built. Insert all your revenues and projections. And again, if you're not, you've got to add more things. And then you maybe a great opportunity coming up in January is to set together the auction site that you can use with Perfect Golf Event. It gives you another revenue source because you can have the online auction going for a couple months before your event. So you'll be generating revenue even before you get to the day of your event. Now, this is very important. People ask me how to find sponsors for my event. So let's go through the secrets of finding the right kind of sponsors for a golf event, because you're competing with a lot of other nonprofits and people that are trying to do the same thing you're trying to do, which is have a successful event. So let's get creative and let's get aggressive. So first thing you want to do is, obviously, your committee is always the first place you're going to start. You've got it for any successful golf event. You've got to have a great committee. So you want to ask each committee member is asked to provide a list of potential sponsors. If the committee member says, hey, I know someone at Commerce Bank, I always ask the committee member to set up the meeting and maybe go along with us. So you're going to start with your committee to get a list of things that they know. And that's why you want to have a really good committee with business connections. And I will set a goal for all my committee members. They're volunteers, and so I can't say you have to do this, but I'll say, hey, can we all commit to bringing in X amount of money in sponsorships and maybe a couple teams each? And that's a great way to get your event started properly. Now, the other places for sponsors, you're going to look at people who are currently supporting your organization. Maybe you've had a golf event before. That's a good starting point. Maybe you've had other types of events, a trivia night, a gala, a 5K run. They're all prospects. It's an excellent source for players and sponsors. And of course, the nice part, if you use Perfect Golf Event, you can upload all these email addresses into our email templates and then send emails out to people with a link to the website. That gets you started pretty quickly on your save the date and register now campaigns. You want to contact all your vendors. People miss this sometime, but whenever I'm working with a committee, one thing I'll ask them is, okay, who do you write checks to? Well, you write checks to your bank, or you get fees, bank fees, law firm, accounting firm. Who do you buy food and beverage from? Cleaning, landscaping, anything you cut a check for, or excuse me, are people that you can look for as potential sponsors. They all have budgets to support nonprofits, so it's a perfect lead-in for you. You might look at community business associations. If you go to the Chamber of Commerce, marketing, advertising clubs, community business. I've gone to a couple times to some chamber meetings where they've let me make a presentation about what the organization's doing and why we're having the golf event. I'll Google marketing and advertising clubs in my community, because those are people who control the money at a corporation or company. You can also look at community directories. I live in St. Louis, but right next door to me is Clayton, Missouri, which is a high-end community. And they put a guide out to all the businesses in the community with all the contact information. I mean, they just give it to me. Here's a book. It's got all the restaurants, law firms, architectural firms, banks. Man, you can tell, I get to this thing. And I upload a lot of these into my database. I go through it with my committee, who knows people there. And now a lot of these community directories are online. So wherever you're located, search on my, what's a business directory, community directory for the city, and you're just trying to gather contact information and lists of people that you can contact. You have to broaden your search criteria to bring new people in. And I'll give you that example. This was an event that I worked with. They only had one fundraiser a year. They had a gala. That was their biggest fundraiser. They wanted to do a golf event. They said, we're not going to call our gala sponsors because we don't want them to stop sponsoring the gala, because we make a lot of money off the gala. So they went in and they researched, used the internet, community directories, all those things, came up with 300 businesses in their area that they thought were potentials for it. They went and sent them a personal letter. They had details on the event, talked about why they were raising money. They included a brochure on their organization. They had a link to the website they set up with us so people could see more information. And they got 41 new sponsors for their event, including a title sponsor, whole sponsors, pin flag sponsors. It was a great success story. And I really admired them because they did the work. And so what I say to people is, it's not easy. Everybody who does a golf event knows it's not easy. It's an arduous task, very challenging, but it can work if you put the energy in and if you work smart. I know you're going to laugh at this one, but I'm sure we all get those Val packs in the mail. Well, I open them up, and I'm not looking for national things, but if I see a local business who's in the Val pack, then they must agree. They must want to sell money. And I'm going to tell you how to approach them sales-wise in a minute, but I put them on my list. They like spending money, and I have a place where they could spend money effectively with my golf event. I look for people supporting other events in the area, and I add them to the target list. So you can, for example, you'll see a lot of these billboards or ads and things on social media that says, hey, we just had an event in 2020. Thanks to all our sponsors. Well, you can believe me, I get a screenshot or a photo, or I rip it out of the paper, and I'll find out, and I'll take it to my committee and my staff. I'll say, hey, who knows anybody at Jefferson Bank? Because obviously they like to sponsor events. We got to get them involved in our golf event. So there's plenty of sources for you to recognize people who believe in advertising and supporting events, and you got to get them on your list. And you can also do internet research. So you might just, for example, search for, I have a sister in Wayne, Pennsylvania. I just picked that. She's doing a golf event in Wayne. She might search for what new businesses have come into Wayne that want to meet new people, and my golf event's a great place to do it. I read all the online business journals, and I have my committees do that. Say, look, who's growing, who's expanding, who's opening a new plant or a new office. I might even look at recruiting ads to see who's hiring, because if somebody's hiring, it means they're growing, and let us help you with our golf event. Keep your momentum up. Those are things you can do. So it's really important to understand you shouldn't be able to say, I can't find anybody to talk to about sponsorships. You can do that. When the goal is what you're trying to do is you're trying to build a list. And if you have an existing event, you already have a list, but you're trying to drop these prospects into some categories. And so when you're done, what you're building this list is, it's going to be full of potential primary sponsors and barter sponsors and unique sponsors and whole and pin flag sponsors. And again, it's not a one event kind of thing. So if you're doing an event every year, when you finish your event, you're going to take that list, say who participated, make sure you get them back next year, but you're going to go back and keep adding to this list. So it's an ongoing process. It's not just like, oh, I'm done, I'll see you next year. Somebody should be assigned to keeping the list current. I'll take all those prospects through my committee, and I'll look at areas where I'll say to the committee members, okay, we've looked at this list. Do you know anybody there? What type of business is this? I might do some internet research to see the size of the business. And I might say, okay, they're doing, $2 million in sales. Maybe they're good for a hole or pin flag. If it's a big corporation, it's going to be a contest or a primary sponsor. You want to break them down into the categories so you make sure when you approach them with the right opportunity. So as I said, it's really say, do the research, then match the sponsorship proposal to the size of the budget. So for example, you wouldn't approach a 12 top restaurant to be your title sponsor, but you certainly would a large law firm or architectural firm. So you've got some work to do to kind of get your categories and your research done and building that list. Now let's go into the selling of sponsorships, because obviously we've got our sponsorship categories set up and we've got our sponsorship category set up. We've identified some sponsors. Now, how do we sell them? How do we convince them that they ought to be part of our event? And so that's very important. You need to first understand why a business would support a charity golf event. And the reasons are they want to generate new business. They used to be, and one of the reasons still is to be, provide local community support. But right now they're looking to generate new business from the players. And they're looking to generate new business from guests, volunteers, committee members, staff, other sponsors. And I always tell them, look, it's not just 144 golfers that are going to be there. I'm going to have sponsors there, volunteers, staff. We might have a couple hundred people there, all potential for your business. They want to certainly, this is a big one. They want to solidify a relationship with existing customers. That's important right now because a lot of people haven't seen their clients for a while because of the COVID. So they want to bring 3 of their top clients out in a foursome and be a part sponsor. Hey, say, thanks for coming out. Let's have a great day of golf. You can see I'm sponsoring this event. It helps add to their credibility. Some want to do it just to show community support. And of course, another major one is that somebody asked them to be a sponsor, and that's where your committee comes in. So if you get a good committee together, or you have people on your board of directors or other staff that say, hey, why don't you contact some of the people you do business with, saying, I'm involved in this nonprofit. Can you help support our golf event? Now, so right now, because of the COVID, the important part, the message you want to get across to your sponsors is, sponsors will support your event to generate new business, reconnect with prior clients, and recover lost business from 2020. Your goal to say, hey, I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to give you a lot of opportunities to interface with my clients on the website, with our golfers and participants on the website and at the event and after the event. So I'm going to help you do what you want to do to get new business, retain your existing business, recover lost business. That's got to be a strong message you're going out to everybody, because it's on everybody's mind. And in fact, one of the things we did, I talked about player gifts earlier, but we've kind of got creative with our player gifts now. And so we've said, instead of giving someone a shirt, nobody needs another shirt. I've put together as a player gifts package of offers for my sponsors. And so I say to the players, hey, come to our event. Thank you very much for attending. And here's a packet of things worth $500 in discounts from our sponsors. It could be 2-for-1 meals, free delivery from the restaurant for 6 months, gift cards, whatever it's going to be. But give your sponsors the opportunity to promote their business to your people and put it right in the hands of the players. Very creative. The response to this was phenomenal for the events I did it in 2020. I'm still going to use it for some of my events in 2021. I'll actually even give them signs to put in their business, to say we are a proud supporter of the Shotgun Scramble. And so when people come into their business, if the businesses are open, hopefully, they'll see, hey, they're promoting this golf event, and gives them a link to the website where the person can play in the golf event, or maybe their business wants to be a sponsor. So you really have to touch all the bases. You can't there's no one magic formula. It's doing all the things right. Cumulative gives you a cumulative effect of having a successful event. Now, if you do this, you're in the top 1% of all the golf events in the United States. And that is Sit down with your group of people who are calling on sponsors and do a little basic sales training. You can have, I'm sure you have somebody, a man or woman, who's a good salesperson on your committee that you know locally, and have them come in and just do the basics. Because remember, your committee members, a lot of them are operations people. That they may be accounting people. They're not in sales, and they don't know how to present a sponsorship properly. And so, what you want to do is teach them how to, invite someone in, tell them how to focus on the key points of selling. I'll give you that in a second. But make sure they have an objective before the presentation. What are you trying to accomplish with the potential sponsor? Have an alternative, meaning, I'd like you to be the lunch sponsor, but if you can't do that, what do you consider being the putting contest sponsor? And learn to ask open-ended questions. You're never going to ask somebody, would you like to be the sponsor for my golf event? Because they could just say no. And then where do you go from there? So you're always going to say things like, could you tell me a little bit about how you're going to decide to spend your marketing budget in 2021? And the business says, we're really going to focus on getting back with our existing customers and trying to add new customers and help grow our business since 2020 was challenging. Well, now the person's just giving you the tools to say to them, well, wait a second, I've got a great opportunity for you. I've got a golf event that's going to have a lot of people there. They have money. They're playing golf. And they're perfect for what you're trying to do. Let me help you get in front of these people at my golf event. So ask open-ended questions. Listen. If the person asks some follow-up questions, follow up. Most salespeople fail because they don't follow up after they've made some initial presentation. You may want to develop some talking points, something that's comfortable for your group to say. Give a one-page summary of the event. When is it? Where is it? How the fund's going to be used? What is the total attendance? Where do they live? What do you think the income buying power is? You guesstimate on some of this stuff, and include your event day highlights. So it makes it easy for your sponsor sales team to explain your event. Give them the tools to make it easy to present your sponsorships. This works very well. I've done this, especially if I'm doing a new event. I'll hold a preview day, maybe 90 to 120 days before my event, depending on how our sales are going. We may hold it at the golf course or maybe at our nonprofit headquarters. We bring in a speaker. We have a little brunch, just nothing heavy. We're not spending a lot of money. And we'll have a speaker come in. The speaker is going to talk about the organization, what we're trying to accomplish. Maybe it's somebody who's benefited from the organization. We ask our committee members to bring a potential sponsor or player team there. And then you introduce your organization and then you say, hey, by the way, we're having a golf event in 120 days. It's a perfect way to help support our event. Would you consider doing that? And sometimes if I'm doing it at the golf course, I may have them go outside and take a couple putts or hit a couple shots. But it's just a way to kind of jumpstart your event if you're having difficulty doing that. You want to prepare a press release. A press release is a great sales tool. You can promote what you did in 2020 or 2019 if your event was delayed. Maybe case studies of people who've benefited from your event, what's going on new for 2021. It's a great sales tool. You now won't necessarily get a lot of pickup from the press, but it makes your event look highly credible. When I go in and I say to a sponsor, by the way, here's the brochure on our event, and by the way, here's our press release that just went out. We have another one going out updating with our new sponsors. We'd love to include you as one of our new sponsors. It just adds credibility. It sets you apart from all the other people competing for those sponsorship dollars. And also I have agreements. I have a sponsorship agreement, kind of outlines what we're going to do and what the sponsor is going to do. Again, not necessary. Sponsors don't usually ask for them, but you can have something like this just to show in your packet that you know how to run an event and that their money's just not being wasted. You want to look professional. You want to look credible. Make sure your website, hopefully you're using Perfect Golf Event. You want to have a professional website. That's very important so that you can tell the available sponsorships on your website. The sponsors can register and pay online. You can put their logos on the home page. Sponsors can post offers. You can capture, because with our system, you can ask questions like, what would you like on your sign? Again, it gives you a professional face to the sponsors. It makes them more comfortable spending money with you. Social media, make sure you use the social media, Facebook, Twitter, using Facebook, Twitter, maybe posting YouTube videos. and talking about your sponsors as they commit. And with one of our new packages we have on our website, we're providing all our events with custom sized banners that they can put that have been perfectly sized for Facebook because their requirements are different than Twitter or Instagram. So here's an event coming up in June, and we made a series of social media banners for them to promote and send out so sponsors can click on it, takes them directly to the event so they can look at the sponsorship opportunities. Again, if you want to be in the top 1% of all the events out there, and hopefully you do, hope you're overachievers, you can use surveys to collect testimonials about your event. So especially if you had an event before, because then you can say, hey, to the business, you've been our sponsor for 2 years. How has it worked for your business? Man, if a sponsor will say, well, the reason I'm a sponsor is because I've gotten plenty of new business out of your event. It's been great for me and I'm coming back next year. Well, that's pure gold. Then you can post those testimonials on the homepage of your website. You can put them in a one-page document that your people have to present to sponsors. I mean, there's nothing better than having a testimonial about how effective sponsorships have been. Again, if you do this, you're in the top 1% of all the people out there selling sponsorship. People just don't do this as much as for 16 years. I've been trying to convince them. It's really a powerful tool. And then you want to put everything on a marketing calendar. I'll be glad to send you this marketing calendar. But you want to lay out what you're doing every month leading up to your event to promote your sponsorships on social media, email blasts, telephone campaigns, whatever you're doing. Make sure you and your committee have a marketing calendar, and this is all laid out. You also want to measure and report on your results weekly, so everybody in the committee knows what's going on and they're updated on it. And I always make sure that I recognize success. Remember, your committee people are people that are volunteers, but they still like to get recognized. I have a couple of committees where the people on the committee are very, very wealthy and they want to support things. And you know what? They like being thanked for bringing a sponsorship as much as anybody. And I make sure we recognize. Sometimes we'll bring in a surprise cake when somebody brings in a title sponsor. Make it fun and recognize it. And then make sure you have thanked your sponsors. And if you didn't do it this year, you better do it now. Make sure you've contacted all your sponsors from last year and make sure to say, hey, we got an event coming up. Some of them, this was a frame. We put this on a plaque with an inscription, thank you to our sponsor for this school that we did. So we give them a thank you gift that they can hang in their office. And we visit them with a holiday gift, a gift basket or something like that. So these are all the things. And that's why I said before, selling sponsorships is not a one-off couple-month campaign. It's a year-round activity. You need a good committee that's kind of focused on it. And then you'll be able to grow your event year after year. And we'll also do a thank you ad. Thank you ad this is a thank you ad we did for one of our events for 2020. And we listed all the sponsors. And you can see this is one of the events that I manage. And you can see we get lots of sponsors because we know how to sell them. We know how to do them. And so then we make sure we thank them afterwards as well. And then we use this as our starting point for, hey, get back in for next year. So hopefully you've got your event set up for 2021, that you're using Perfect Golf Event for your website. If you need samples of any things I talked about today, you can go set your website. You use a free website with us. So there's some other packages you can use. They give you some additional benefits. You can order tournament packages now that are completely set up already with the sponsorship opportunities that you can sell. If there's anything we can do or help, just let us know. I'll leave this information up. If you want to copy the presentation, just email me at paul@perfectgolfevent or send to support@perfectgolfevent. I hope that you found this useful. If there's any ways that I can help you, please just again contact me directly. And if you want to copy the presentation, email me as well. So I really appreciate your listening. I hope you have a great holiday season and you have a great event in 2021. Hopefully it can help you.